Okay, we'll go ahead and get started then. My name is Nikki Dickens, and I am the Assistant Director for Career Development and Programs at the Lockheed Martin Career Development Center here at UTA. And I am going to be sharing some tips and tricks for conducting a successful job search, and hopefully teaching some strategies that will help us all to know how we can go about our job search effectively. I want to go ahead and get started with just a little bit of information about some of the things that we are going to be talking about today. So, of course, we're going to go over what the job search process looks like from beginning to end. We'll talk about how to get started. We'll talk a little bit about networking. We're going to talk about how to navigate through job offers and just spend a little bit of time on salary negotiation. And then if anybody does have any questions, maybe we can get through a couple of questions as well. But we'll go ahead and get started just by looking at the entire job search process from beginning to end. So I think that we're all pretty familiar with the way that we look for jobs. We usually start by looking for jobs that we would be interested in applying for online, and then we submit that application. Usually, once that application has been submitted, from the employer's perspective, they're going to review those applicants as quickly as possible and try to narrow it down to the number of candidates that they would be interested in interviewing by phone. And usually that phone screen or that pre-screen interview is the first step. So you as a candidate they would reach out to you and they would try to schedule either a phone interview. Sometimes it might be a video interview, but usually not an in-person interview just yet. And usually that is just a time to do some of the more general types of interview questions that you might find, like getting to know you a little bit, finding a little bit about what your skills are, why you chose your major, some of the more basic questions like that, more common interview questions and things like that. And once they have conducted all of the phone interviews, then they'll start inviting people on campus or on site to do an interview in person. And that on-site interview can take a lot of different formats. You might be meeting with different people at the company, different groups of people, maybe your team that you would be working with if you got the job, maybe people from HR, maybe people from leadership areas. There may be a tour involved. There may be a lunch or other type of meal involved with the interview as well. And that's usually a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about what the work environment is like, what the people are like, and really start to picture what it would be like to work at that place and get a better understanding of the role and the job that you would be doing there. Of course, once they've done that, they're going to narrow that down to the one person that they would like to make an offer to. And then there will be an offer. There will be a little bit of back and forth and negotiation process, perhaps. And then once all of that has been finalized, you'll get a final, more formal offer. And then you'll have an opportunity to sign an offer letter. I know the word on the slide says contract. Usually it's not legally binding. The offer that you get once you sign that, you are agreeing to go and work for that organization. It's not as legally binding as a contract, but it is definitely a formal agreement between you and the employer about when you're going to start, how much you're going to get paid, and any of the other human resources related aspects of the job in terms of benefits and things like that. So that's just a really quick overview of what the job search process would look like for you as a candidate. Do you have any questions about anything on this slide, or is that pretty clear?
We have one question. It says, how long does it take to screen applications?
That is a really good question, and I think different organizations will tell you different things about how long it takes to screen applications. And What usually happens is if it's for an entry-level position, it doesn't take quite as long as it would for something that was a little bit more advanced or had a higher skill expectation. So usually you can expect that at the beginning of the process, after you've submitted your application, that's probably going to be the longest part of the process because they have so many applications to screen usually. So you could imagine that that's going to take a couple of weeks, anywhere to a month or more, before they start reaching out to do the phone interviews. And after that, it'll start to generally move a little bit more quickly because the candidate pool at every level is being decreased. So they have fewer and fewer applications and candidates to reach out to get things scheduled. So it should go faster as the process goes on usually. But that does lead me to my question that I'll go ahead and just answer for you, which is how long does the average job search take? And the average job search can take up to 6 to 8 months. So you want to give yourself plenty of time as you're going through this process, not expecting it to happen quickly. And I don't say that to discourage anyone or make anyone feel like this is just going to be this big long drag, but just so that you can prepare for your job search early. So let's say that you are looking for an internship and you want that internship to take place in the fall semester. You would probably want to start that internship search right now to give yourself plenty of time to go through several interviews, several different application processes before you actually get the internship that you're going to take. And that would be true for a full-time job as well. So sometimes I think we believe we have to wait until we have that diploma in hand to start the job search, and that's simply not true. A lot of the recruiting events that happen through the university, for example, are taking place several months before those job opportunities are actually going to start. And if you are part of that process, they know that you're not graduating yet, and it's okay for you to be applying for those jobs without the degree in hand. So give yourself the time and understand that if it's not happening quickly, that's normal. You're not a bad candidate. You're not doing anything wrong necessarily. It's just the way that this process works. You want to build up that momentum and apply for as many jobs as you see that meet up with what your qualifications and your expectations are for what type of job you would be looking for. Any questions about that or what that process would be?
It is kind of one that you already covered, but just to reiterate, when might I reasonably expect to hear back from the employer?
I wish I had a really great answer to that question. It really depends a little bit on the employer and the process that they have. But there are cases where you apply for a job and you can hear back from the employer within a couple of days. And there are times when it will take up to a month for them to reach out to you to get that interview scheduled. So I guess the only and best advice that I have for you as you're going through that process is not to give up hope, not to give up on those employers that are taking a long time to get back with you, because it might not mean anything negative. It might just mean that they got a lot of candidates or they're just very slow in their process. But just keep applying, and it's okay to reach out every once in a while and touch base with those employers if you can, and just reiterate your interest. Hey, I applied for a job a few weeks ago. I just wanted to touch base with you and let you know that I'm still really interested in that position, and yourself active and alive in that job search. But in the meantime, continue to apply for other jobs as well. So unfortunately, I don't have a solid answer to that question, but hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, anything else?
No, that's all the questions we have right now. Great,
thank you. Okay, so a lot of times when a student comes in to meet with me in the office, it can be just, hey, I know I need to do a job search. I know I need an internship, or I know I'm going to be graduating in a few months and I need to get my job search started, but I have no idea what to do or how to get started. So just a few suggestions here on the screen about things that you can do to get your job search started. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have a good, solid resume and cover letter. The university, the Career Development Center can help you get your resume and cover letter together. We have different opportunities for you to participate in resume and cover letter workshops. You can also get your resume or cover letter critiqued by someone at the Career Center virtually, that you can submit that resume and then get it a critique back. Or you can do a drop-in where a person, a MAV navigator, career ambassador will be available to help you with your resume or cover letter on the spot. And as we're doing things virtually right now, you can go to our website, uta.edu/careers, and you can see a list of all of the different ways that you can get these services completed virtually right now. So hopefully that will provide you with some help with the resume and cover letter that you would need. Any online job search tools that you would like, I usually recommend that you don't get carried away and have a bunch of different job search tools, job search sites to work with. Pick the ones that you think are going to be the most effective and that you feel the most comfortable using. We at the Career Development Center provide Handshake, which is a great resource that is just for UTA students and alumni. So those employers that are posting jobs on that site are specifically opting into hiring UTA students and alumni. So that can be a really helpful resource. You can create a profile, you can do an online search, you can submit your resume to the companies, and they can also find you and contact you. And you just log into that with your net ID and password. You also can use other sites like Indeed.com or LinkedIn. Those can be really great resources as well. But again, I would only pick a few that you will check on a regular basis so that you're not overwhelmed with a million different online job search tools. You can even create email agents so that those sites will email you when new jobs get posted that match your search criteria. So that might be something you want to do as well. It might make it easier to kind of keep up with what's getting posted. It's always a good idea to let other people know that you are looking for a job, because you don't ever know, you never know who might be able to help you with that search. So post it on LinkedIn, share it on Facebook. Let your professors know, let your friends know, your family members, so that they can be on the lookout too and help you with your job search. And that can be really helpful. And then any networking event or job fairs that you can attend. Right now, most of those are being held virtually, but you can attend job fairs every fall and spring semester through the university. And you can also participate in different types of networking events. For example, the Career Development Center is going to be hosting a virtual job fair this month over the course of 2 days. And you can get information about that on our website if you wanted to sign up to participate in that online job fair. Do you guys have any questions about anything here before we move on?
We just have one person saying that they really like Indeed.
Yeah, Indeed.com is a really great resource because you can do, what I like to do is keyword searches. Sometimes if you're looking for a job by job title, it can be really limiting because companies will use very creative words and phrases sometimes to define their job or to create a job title. So sometimes I like to search by a skill, maybe a technical skill or some other skill that I have, or by a major, because sometimes you can get different results that way that you wouldn't necessarily be able to find any other way. So I really like Indeed's searchability and the different types of searches that you can do in there to find jobs. So one of my favorites as well. Awesome. So one of the key ways to find a job is through networking. In fact, 85% of jobs, this is according to LinkedIn, so it might be, a little bit skewed in their favor, but 85% of jobs are filled through networking. And the reason why I think networking is so important is because from the employer's perspective, if they can have a recommendation for a candidate, or if they know that candidate in a different way than through just reading the application and reading the resume, then it makes it a lot easier for them to pick the candidates that are going to be the best fit for their organization. And because so much of finding a good job and so much about finding a good candidate is that culture fit, and making sure that you would be able to work well with the people that are already part of that organization. Networking can be very, very important. I mean, if you really think about that, and think about how much time you spend filling out online applications and resumes and submitting resumes online, it might feel like you're doing that more than you are networking. And I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing that process. I think that most employers are going to require you to go through that process of submitting your application online, but it's not a bad idea to accompany that with a little bit of networking as well. And most of the time when a student comes into my office and we talk about their job search and their frustrations with their job search, I hear a lot of things like, oh, I've applied to thousands of jobs and I'm not really getting anywhere and I don't know what to do. And we'll go through, some steps like, is it your resume? Let's look at your resume and make sure it's okay. Is it your interview skills? Let's practice interviewing and make sure that your interview skills are okay. And then we will talk about networking. And most of the time when we talk about networking, and I suggest that, students' faces kind of tend to fall a little bit, and they can feel very discouraged about networking. And I usually hear a couple of different reasons why networking is a challenge for them. And I think we all kind of feel the same way about networking sometimes, but just going to kind of put it out there. Do you have any thoughts of why networking might feel a little bit overwhelming or intimidating?
One comment we got was that it's kind of like cold calling in sales.
Yeah, it can feel like that sometimes. It feels like we're trying to sell ourselves in this really awkward or odd way that we're not generally comfortable with. So usually that's what I hear is like, I don't know how to do it. It makes me feel sort of insincere and phony, or really just, I don't know anybody and I don't know who would I network with. And so I would like to kind of rework our definition of what networking is and how we can really make that work for us. So networking really doesn't have to be difficult. Sometimes, for example, the Career Center can be a really great resource for networking because there are often employers that are engaging with the Career Center to try to connect with students. And there's a lot of different formats for that. It may be an information session. It may be an open house. It may be an interview, on-campus interview opportunity, a job fair. Employers are engaging with the Career Center in lots of different ways. And you can always look at our handshake system and find out all the different ways to connect with employers and see what is going on with them. So for right now, we're in this virtual world, in this virtual situation. So a lot of employers are transitioning their networking opportunities to virtual networking opportunities. So you can keep up to date with what those might be. But also every fall and every spring semester on an almost daily basis, there is a company doing something on campus that gives you an opportunity to network with them. Maybe you belong to professional organizations or clubs at the university, and you may have guest speakers from time to time, and that can be a networking opportunity as well. LinkedIn is a really great resource for networking. a lot of company hiring managers will monitor their LinkedIn messages all the time. So you can always try to find a recruiter for the company that you're interested in working for and trying to send them a message to let them know that you are looking and that you feel like you're really well qualified for a certain position. But also on LinkedIn, there is a University of Texas at Arlington group that's filled with university students and alumni that are out working at all of these different organizations. And you can look in there and you can search for people that are connected to the university that are out working at a company that you might be interested in working for. And that can be a really great way to network as well. And, you know, at the end of the day, just being willing to talk to people and being open to having conversations with people. I always encourage students to be comfortable just saying hello to people and starting a conversation. And the more comfortable you get with that, then the easier it is to network in general, because you just never know where those conversations can lead. And also you just get more comfortable talking to strangers or talking to people that you wouldn't normally talk with. And your professors can be a great resource for networking as well. They may know of students that are out there doing work in your field that would be a great connection for you, or they may also be connected to different companies and organizations in the industry and might be able to help you with your networking as well. So at the end of the day, there's lots of different ways to network, and I think that we just need to find the way that is going to work the best for us. And it does require us to be outside of our comfort zone a little bit and push ourselves maybe to do things that we normally wouldn't want to do. And I think that the more we do it and the more we practice, the easier it becomes. You always just want to be prepared to talk a little bit about yourself, talk a little bit about what kinds of jobs you are interested in, and what skills and interests you have that you think would be beneficial for an employer to know. And I think the more that you do that, then the easier it will be for that to lead to an opportunity. Another thing that I think can be a really cool way to network is to reach out to people, not to ask for a job, but to just ask for a meeting. For example, you find someone that's doing work that you would be interested in doing. Maybe you're an accounting major and you want to know what it's like to work at an accounting firm. So you reach out and you say, hey, you know, I'm a UTA student. I'm interested in working in audit, and I noticed that you work for this firm. I would be really interested in learning what it's like to work at that firm. Do you have some time for us to chat about what your job is like and any advice that you might have for me as I start my job search? Any tips that you think would help me to be successful? And that can lead to a really great networking conversation. And people are a lot more willing to reach out or to respond with willingness to help you to develop yourself and provide a little bit of mentorship. Sometimes then they might not be in a position to say, oh yes, I can help you get a job, but they might be a really great mentor in the process. Do you have any questions about anything here with networking, or any thoughts or comments to share? I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next slide while I wait.
We had a comment that these are very helpful tips.
Awesome, good. I'm glad it's helpful. And then we talked about some of these resources already, but really just know that there are ways for you to get help and to get really solid career advice. We can help you with your interview skills through the University of Texas at Arlington, the Lockheed Martin Career Development Center. We have Interview Stream, but we can also do a practice interview either via video, but we do practice phone interviews as well. So you can schedule that with a career consultant if that's something that you would be interested in. And then there's lots of other resources to get really great job search advice. And, you know, I do it myself sometimes. I'll just Google interview questions or questions to ask at the end of an interview, or how to negotiate your salary. There's so many great resources and articles out there that you can find that will help you to feel more comfortable with your job search. So I think utilizing the resources that are available to you can really help ease your discomfort and some of the anxiety that you might be feeling about conducting a job search successfully. And then once you have the job offer and you've decided that it is a mutual fit and it's a job that you would be interested in, I really, really think that when you're looking for a job, that fit is really important. So really spend some time thinking about what is important to you in the job or the internship that you are looking for. What are the professional development opportunities there? What kind of workplace culture are you looking for? Do you want to work in a small team? Do you want to work for a large corporation? Those kinds of things can help ease the decision-making process when you are looking, because sometimes we get so excited about the offer, how much money is available to you and what kind of salary you're going to be getting, and that can maybe cloud our judgment momentarily. So definitely make sure that you know what it is that you're looking for in the type of job that you want. And then once you get that offer, it's okay to review and make sure that everything is in line with what you would expect. So once you get that job offer, don't feel like you need to accept or decline that job right away. Ask for the information in writing so that you can look over it, understand it, and then if there is anything that you have questions about or that you need to clarify, or maybe you want to negotiate, you would have the opportunity to do that. There are going to be several points during the job search process where you might get asked what your salary expectations are. Sometimes they ask you right at the application phase, right when you're submitting your application. There might be a question about your salary expectations, or they might ask you during one of the interviews, either the in-person interview or the phone interview. The best time, of course, to have the salary conversation is once they've extended the offer, because then you know what your baseline is. But you may not have the luxury of doing that. So I always recommend that you do your homework and find out what the salary range would be for the type of position that you're looking for, so that you have at least an idea of what a reasonable salary expectation would be for that job. Don't just make up a number. Don't feel like you're getting put on the spot and make up a number without any basis on what that job salary should be. So you might over or under state what that salary should be if you haven't done your research. And I usually like to look at more than one source so that you can make sure that you are getting a pretty good idea. Glassdoor.com has salary information that you can look at. There's also a website called salary.com. You can also look at the Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics website to find some salary information. And I usually look at maybe 3 or 4 different sources of information and create a range based on what I'm seeing in those different places, so that when you get asked the question, you can say, oh, well, I've done some research, and based on what I've seen, my salary expectation would be somewhere between $50,000 and $55,000 a year, but I am negotiable, and I'm willing to hear whatever offer you would like to make. That's one way that you could answer that question and feel very confident and informed as you say that. You can also say, you know what, I'm not sure yet. Let me do some research and get back with you if you have the opportunity to do so. So please don't answer that question if you're not prepared to answer the question, but make sure that you have a salary in mind that is based on the job title and the job description, rather than just what you think you should be making because you have a degree or because of what degree you're getting. And so you can do that in the application stage or during the interview phase. You might say something more like, well, what is the salary range for this position, or what is your salary range for this position, and see if they can give you that information. But always be prepared with that salary range in the back, in your back pocket. Once you've received the offer, like I said, you don't want to accept or decline that offer over the phone. They're going to call you. They're going to make the offer. I would definitely say something like, thank you. That's really great and exciting. If you'll go ahead and send that offer letter over to me, I'll review it. And how long do I have to review that, or when do you need my response? And let them give you some time. And then you can go through the process of reviewing it, making sure you understand all of it, not just the salary, but the benefits, the start date, anything else that might be included in that salary offer, in that job offer. And then if you do want to counter offer or ask questions about any of it, think through, write out, plan and prepare for what you're going to say, so that you can call back and ask, is this a good time? I have a few questions about my offer. I'd really like to discuss when would be a good time for us to have that conversation, and then get that conversation started. I have a question about my benefits. It says this, is that negotiable? Or I have a question about my salary. I've done some research and I was hoping to get a little bit closer to $60,000 a year. Is that something we can talk about? So that you can have a respectful conversation about it. That's not going to close any doors, but just give you an opportunity to know, is there any room for you to have that conversation? And whether the answer is, yes or no on their end, like, no, we can't offer you more than what we're offering you, you can still decide to accept that job offer. Or you can say, no, I'm sorry, I really can't accept anything less than 50,000 or 57,000 or whatever your cutoff range is. So you can kind of still have that conversation and still accept the job, regardless of whether or not those negotiations go the way that you are hoping they would. But once that negotiation has occurred, and if you did make some changes like a salary increase or a change in benefits or something like that, just go ahead and ask again, like, great, that sounds wonderful. Go ahead and send that updated offer letter over to me, and I'll go ahead and sign that. That way you can review it again, make sure that it is all according to what you both agreed on, and then sign that updated and revised offer letter and send that back. Now, once you've signed that offer letter, they're considering you an employee of that organization. So going back on that, changing your mind is really frowned upon. So think about that very carefully before you sign that offer letter, and make sure that that is the job that you want, and that you are prepared to go and start on the date that they are expecting you. And you might want to practice having that negotiation conversation with someone, so that you are not fumbling over your words or coming across as very uncertain or nervous as you're talking. So does anybody have any questions about salary offers and kind of negotiations?
No questions.
No questions. Awesome. Well, I hope that there was information in there that was helpful, and that will help you to feel a little bit more confident as you're going through the job search process. But don't forget that the Career Development Center is here for you. At any point during the job search process, if you feel like you just need to ask a question or get some confirmation or get a little bit of practice doing something, we are here to help you. And as I mentioned, our website has our most up-to-date information on our virtual services that are available right now. You can participate in an appointment, drop-ins, workshops through the internet. So if you have anything that you need to talk about right now, we are here for you. And you can just visit us at uta.edu/careers. You'll also see on the slide our email address, which is also a great way to reach out to us. Or you can go to uta.joinhandshake.com to register or to fill out your profile, to create your Handshake profile and start looking for jobs online. And you only need your net ID and password to get that started. So if there are no further questions, just pause for a second, make sure there are no questions or comments.
Thanks for doing this. It was very helpful.